I'm going to be showing you some parameters I use when printing with PCL. One key feature is I use my layer Z distance to be about half the distance of my nozzle size. So in the most recent video for preparing and printing with PCL, I used a 0.5 millimeter nozzle. Now in that case, I would be using 0.3 layer Z. If I'm using 0.8, I'd use around a 0.4. I want to really stay around that halfway point. Obviously 0.25 is half of a 0.5. It's not that exact, but stay within the halfway range of your nozzle diameter. Gives a good push down between layers and helps the material stick to each other and get the proper compression. Now, we also want to notice that the feed rate, especially for PCL, needs to be slower. PCL does not cool down very well with ambient airflow and needs a moment to set out, be compressed in, and then be pushed along. It doesn't do well at faster rates and can't be extruded very quickly because it's so viscous. So I do the feed rate about 500 is my normal one. 300 to 800 has worked well for me. You can choose how you want in between those ranges and see what works best. Another thing that I've noticed is that I sometimes like to use a designed barricade or wall around my print to get as much airflow contained within the system. If that is the case, remember to use your Z up or Z down. Z up mainly, so that you can tell your printer to rise up above the wall that you built, then go over to your print and drop in within the barricade. There are some videos, including talking about airflow and the importance with PCL, that can show you where that is used. The final parameter I would like to mention are temperatures and fan. So head temperature, I usually start around the maximum about 120, goes down to 100 is usually my range. Sometimes I can go a little higher. I don't usually like to go below 100. It doesn't seem to be very viscous in my opinion. The 80-degree temperature gets a bit annoying to have to get a lot of output at once, and effectively for smaller and smaller nozzles is more and more difficult. So as you get a smaller nozzle, raise your temperature, 120 to 140 even. Past that, it gets a bit too warm and closer to the limits of the equipment you're using. If you get up to 160 to 180, now all of a sudden O-rings can start to melt or things can start to degrade a little quicker. So for your fan, I use 2 quiet storm fans, both at 100% during the entirety of the print. You can do the first layer with no fan, that's perfectly fine, but the rest of it I do advise having a fan on. Thank you, hope this is helpful. Keep working with Hyrel.